The mighty Rif Mountains, where birds of prey soar against the imposing cliffs, where stunning monuments have been crafted by nature and time, home to secretive reptiles and rare amphibians that are found nowhere else on Earth, where Barbary macaques skillfully navigate their precarious homes, and colorful creatures adorn the skies. In the midst of it all is the legendary Blue City. But the Mediterranean Sea is not far away. This is an epic journey across northern Morocco, from the Rif Mountains to the Mediterranean Sea. The morning sun lights up the dramatic slopes of the Rif Mountains. A gushing river cuts through the stunning valley. And it takes a brave creature to live here. But this Barbary macaque is a skilled climber. And he is not alone. His family have found a treasure trove of tasty foliage, and he has come to join them here. The abundant leaves make a nice morning treat, and the lush forested slopes contain a variety of flora that the macaques can indulge in. They excitedly pull out those delicious leaves and pack them in. These Barbary macaques are some of the last surviving groups in the wild, so it is good to see these healthy individuals as they enjoy their breakfast. Some family members bask on the exposed granite outcrops as they help their young discover their wonderful home. After all, these babies are the future of the only macaque species found outside of Asia. The world they live in is a place of gigantic proportions, for this is Talassemtane National Park, where steep vertical mountainsides dominate the landscape. A land of fantastic contrasting colors, especially because of the presence of clean water in all its different shades. Rows of mature oleander trees line the lower reaches of the deep and rocky gorge. Their beautiful pink flowers adorn these valleys, but the real magic lies in their wonderfully patterned leaves as they dance away in the breeze. The light reflected from the clear waters below make them a precious sight, one that is ever fleeting and can only be enjoyed and never taken from the wild. The fresh waters below are home to an endless array of life. Several species of fish navigate this rare watery paradise. A European pond turtle is in defiance of its name as it blurs in and out in these waters of North Africa. The fish gather in large numbers because there is plenty of food to find, but also because of the presence of the different shapes of rocks. They rub their bodies against these rocks to rid themselves of any parasites. There are also some other smaller creatures that live on the water. While they themselves may be too small to be clearly seen, they cast prominent, strange shadows that can be easily noticed. These are pond skaters or water striders. Their bizarre evolution has allowed them to walk on the water. Their exact body weight and the fine hairs on their legs mean that they never break the surface tension of water. Hugging close to the edge of these streams are tiny tadpoles. These are the tadpoles of the Moroccan painted frog. While these babies wait to develop their limbs and climb out onto land, their parents are nowhere to be seen. The hardy adults have long left for another place. But outside this fresh water, the rocks and the cliffs are an extremely dry place for an amphibian to survive. A canal at the top of the mountain has served as an unlikely refuge for the frogs. The plants that cling to the walls make them very difficult to see. It's only when you begin to zoom in that the frogs become visible. The size of the leaves that shelter this tiny creature show just how small this frog is. These frogs enhance their camouflage by remaining exceptionally still. Even falling water droplets and sudden movements do not faze them. Painted frogs are endemic to Morocco, and they come in different sizes and color variations. This one, with mottled coloration, braves the open walls as it blends in within the vegetation. Larger adults huddle together for warmth and protection, but this is an isolated and very healthy habitat. So when they feel braver, they enter the water surface as they continue to search for insects and other small creatures to eat. The fast-moving streams and the miniature waterfalls may be a beautiful sight, but we should not take for granted the power of water, wind, and Earth's geological forces. For millions of years, the waters have battled with the mighty boulders that line the valleys, forcing their way and molding not just the rocks and the stones, but also the very structure of these mountains. These stunning markings are the result of water erosion, a firm marker on how high the water can rise and how strong the impact of its power can be. But the absolute showstopper here is an unbelievable natural wonder known as God's Bridge. So called because it seems like a miracle that such a structure was carved out of natural forces alone. The steep sides of the bridge are difficult places for plants to grow. And yet, some stubborn species defy the odds as they force their way through. This green layer is an important sheltering space for tiny birds, such as this African blue tit that is able to survive the strong winds by staying within the sturdy protective branches. The small bird is an active forager. It moves quickly from branch to branch as it nibbles away on the tiny buds. Other smaller birds, such as house sparrows and great tits, also make their home in the thick foliage. But not every small bird likes to hide. Grey wagtails light up the large boulders as they make their way in search of small insects. They are very quick, and as their name suggests, they can never stop wagging their tails. In stark contrast to all these species is a bird that has a very unique habit of catching its food. The spotted flycatcher is so small and well camouflaged that it is almost easy to miss it. It carefully observes everything that is going on around it, scanning for tiny insects in the sky. It has a favorite post that it likes to sit on as it waits for the perfect opportunity to pounce upon a passing prey. Once it has found its target, it flies out with lightning speed in an attempt to catch its prey and then comes back to its post. No luck this time, but it will continue to keep a lookout and try again. The red-veined dropwing is a beautiful dragonfly that is very different species to the spotted flycatcher. But interestingly, it also has the same habits as the bird. This dragonfly also loves to choose a favorite post from where it can use its excellent high-definition vision to pick out its prey. It ferociously defends its favorite hunting post by driving away any other dragonflies from the area. But at this point in time, rather than competing for space with anyone else, the dragonfly is holding out strong and fighting out the powerful winds. As we leave this dragonfly to dance in the breeze, we move on to a magnificent city that is shrouded in legend and history. The iconic blue walls and the traditional roofs of Chefchaouen are sheltered in the shadows of the Rif Mountains. The blue city proudly matches the azure mountain skies. Nearly every building in the old town is drenched in multiple different hues of blue. Narrow streets lead the way to the ancient marketplace, where locals still gather to get the best deals of the day. There is plenty of fresh water to keep the fruits cold. This is the benefit of living at the foothills of the mountains. For the combination of meltwater and the sporadic rains keep these streams flowing throughout the year. It is not surprising to see water-thirsty plants growing in abundance here, such as figs. At the end of the summer, they are even going to produce edible fruits. Splendid grape vines are also producing fruits in vast quantities. The plentiful flowering plants that grow under the bridge attract pollinators, such as African honeybees. But the slow, trickling water creates microhabitats where several species can thrive. The hidden spaces on the walls are a perfect place for a hungry house sparrow to forage for some food. And the traditional roof slabs provide a great nesting spot for the sparrows, where several families can raise their young together. And a perching spot for the adult sparrow is also not far away. By sitting close to the nesting spot, the sparrow can communicate with its loud chirps. There is every chance some potential danger is nearby. But while the birds have their wings to make an easy escape, some creatures are bound to the ground, so they sneak around close to the walls. The Andalusian wall lizard reacts to danger by staying perfectly still. But right now, it is facing a peculiar and awkward problem. It is in the middle of shedding its skin, and the stubborn remnants of this biological transformation are still hanging on, clearly ruining its strategy of blending in with its surroundings. In addition to this, the strong mountain winds are making the problem worse. So, for now, the lizard decides to hide away rather than making an attempt to blend in. Beyond the stunning streams and the cold mountain tops lies a very different world. This is a place of flat farmlands where Berber horses graze in peace. As they feed on the grass, they disturb small insects, and birds such as egrets and ibises follow them around to snatch away at these easy food sources. The vegetation of the mountains gives way to a distinct type of flora that is very common in this habitat. Coastal palm trees and sea rush sway in a gentle warm breeze. The signs are present everywhere that a calming sea is nearby. This is the Mediterranean Sea. But the glimmering waters beyond the seed heads belong to an isolated marsh, a place of great refuge for some wary migrants. Several species of gulls, both resident and migratory, use this freshwater sanctuary to clean their wings and rest before heading off to find food. The whistling calls of the oyster catchers and the yelling squawks of the gulls are a soundtrack of this seaside. Flocks of Arctic and common terns rest on sandbanks as a much larger gull enjoys a quick bath. Between the marsh and the sand dunes are places where miniature flowering plants grow close to the ground. These small flowers may not look like a lot, but they are an important food source for some beautiful creatures. Butterflies, like these plain tigers, love the tiny but nectar-rich flowers of the plant. These butterflies are also known as African monarchs. They are found in such open landscapes and they usually feed on milkweed plants. This makes them poisonous to consume for other animals. So they have evolved to have these brilliant bright colors to serve as warning to potential predators. The plain tiger butterflies are so successful as a toxic species to consume that some other butterflies have learned to mimic their splendid patterns in order to fool predators into thinking that they too may harbor the same horrible taste as these plain tigers. The harsh sand dunes may look like a tough place to live, and they appear barren at first sight, but a secretive bird lives here. The Thekla's lark may be dull in color, but it lights up the sandy coast with its beautiful songs. Despite its delicate appearance, the lark can survive on a range of different foods. It has sharp senses and a curious nature. It investigates any available and potential food sources, and once it has hit a target, the bird perseveres till the very end. At the edge of the rocky and sandy coast are species that were almost lost to us. From a distance, they all look very similar, but in fact, these are distinct species of gulls. These birds with the red bills are Audouin's gulls. At one point in history, only 1,000 breeding pairs were left. But undisturbed places like these have helped them bounce back from the brink. These North African outposts are important migration routes for threatened species like these birds. They are joined here by other species such as yellow-legged gulls. At close range, the adult birds can be seen clearly as they display their bright yellow legs and the pretty black and white patterns on their tails. They have gathered here in such large numbers because of a variety of possible reasons. The juvenile gulls have left their nests, and traveling together with the flock allows them to learn about the methods of finding fish or scavenging at sea. Being together in a large group also allows them to collectively spot any dangers. As the late afternoon comes to an end, they will all take to the sea. These stunning rocky shores of the Mediterranean Sea are indeed a beautiful place to call home. The scale of the Rif Mountains makes it a very challenging place to look for wildlife. After all, there are plenty of places for creatures to hide. But we were lucky to find some hidden habitats, such as this remote canal near the top of one of the mountains where the painted frogs were filmed. The magical light and the dramatic landscape gave us the chance to film some awesome time lapses. The stunning mountains and the valleys cover this entire route from Chefchaouen to the Mediterranean Sea. An absolute iconic sight that we had to see for ourselves was the almost mythical God's Bridge. On the way to the bridge, we had photogenic streams and slower flowing water where we were able to film creatures like the fish and the tadpoles. This pretty landscape is a great place to enjoy the cool and calming mountain waters and also have a break to dine on the traditional tagine. The famous blue city of Chefchaouen was also a must-see place for us. Those magical blue walls match the blue skies and the sea of the Mediterranean perfectly. The beach made a great spot to revel in the sea and beat the afternoon heat. And on meal times, we were always able to entertain some impromptu guests. The flat grasslands that begin after the mountains quickly gave way to excellent habitats by the edge of the sea. We were lucky to find this isolated marsh, which was a great mix of freshwater lagoons, sandy dunes, and the beach. Finding the different species of birds here was very exciting. The isolated sandbanks and the marshes gave them a great place to rest and hide. Even with the long lens and the zoom, they always seemed too far away to film or photograph. So we were fortunate to get some videos of the birds from this beautiful and protected place.